Today we're running through 18 new Nintendo Switch games releasing this July. Some of them are big returns, others are smaller indie projects that just look cool. There's a mix of cozy, chaotic, weird, and straight-up intense stuff here. Basically something for everyone. No filler, no fluff, just the most interesting games coming to the Switch this month. So let's not waste time and jump right into the list. Tales of the Shire is a laid-back life sim set in the Lord of the Rings universe. And yeah, it's a surprising direction. Instead of epic battles or dark quests, this game is all about living like a hobbit, fishing, gardening, decorating your home, and hanging out with neighbors. It leans hard into that peaceful storybook vibe with a soft art style and cozy atmosphere. You're not saving Middle-earth here, you're just vibing. And honestly, that sounds kind of great. It feels like it could be a perfect escape game, especially for players who are burned out on high-stakes adventures. It's unexpected, but that's what makes it interesting. Donkey Kong Bananza is Nintendo's big swing for the Switch 2, and it actually looks pretty wild. This isn't just another side-scroller, it's full 3D, packed with destructible environments, rhythm-based segments, and some really creative transformations. Donkey Kong can take on different animal forms this time, like a rhino or eagle, and each one changes how you move through the world. The game leans into exploration a lot more than past entries, and there's even a co-op mode with Game Share, which is a nice touch. Visually, it's colorful and full of energy, and the new soundtrack blends in perfectly with the chaotic platforming. Honestly, this feels like the kind of bold shakeup the series has needed for a while. It's one of those games where you look at the trailer and just think, yep, this could be a hit. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 is finally happening, and it looks like they're going all in. It's a full remake of both games, built in the same engine as the excellent 1+2 remasters, and if those were anything to go by, this should be solid. The visuals are sharp, the animations look smooth, and the roster is stacked with both classic skaters and some newer faces. Online multiplayer is in, along with park creation, and yes, custom soundtracks are back too. There's definitely a nostalgia factor here, but they're also updating just enough to make it feel current. These games were already some of the best in the series, so bringing them back with this level of polish just makes sense. If you're into skateboarding games at all, this one's gonna be tough to ignore. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound brings the series back in a way that's both familiar and totally fresh. It's got that old-school 2D side-scrolling action, but with a sharp pixel art style and a new dual-character mechanic that lets you switch between two ninjas mid-fight. Combat is fast, chaotic, and brutal, just like you'd expect. But now there's more flexibility and some flashy fusion moves. It leans into the retro roots without feeling dated, and the soundtrack, featuring contributions from classic NES-era composers, gives it a really authentic vibe. There's also a physical edition packed with old-school goodies like a cloth map and a mini art book, which is kinda cool if you're into collectibles. Honestly, this one looks like it knows exactly who it's for, and it's going to deliver hard for fans of tough, stylish action games. Bendy and the Dark Revival is one of those games that just leans all the way into being weird and unsettling, and it works. You're stuck in this twisted old animation studio, trying to survive while everything's dripping with ink and nothing makes sense. It's first-person, kind of survival horror, kind of puzzle game, with a little stealth and combat mixed in. Honestly, the atmosphere is the main thing here. It's got that creepy 1930s cartoon look, but everything feels more refined this time compared to the first game. It's still not a massive blockbuster or anything, but if you're into horror games that go for style and tone over jump scares, this one might surprise you. It's definitely not for everyone, but it knows exactly what it wants to be. Hunter x Hunter Neng's Impact is a 3 vs 3 anime fighter based on the classic series, and honestly, it looks like it could be way better than expected. It's got a flashy art style, some clean-looking animations, and a whole Nen-based combat system that seems to give each character a distinct playstyle. The big thing is the team system and how you can chain moves between characters mid-combo, which looks super satisfying when it all clicks. If it plays as good as it looks, it could be a standout anime fighter. Misc: A Tiny Tale is a charming little 3D platformer that feels straight out of the GameCube era, in a good way. You play as a tiny robot exploring a big, chunky world filled with colorful environments and cozy vibes. The movement looks tight, the animations are smooth, and there's a simplicity to the design that just works. It's not trying to overwhelm you with systems or mechanics, it's just a straight-up platforming game with a lot of heart. Honestly, it gives off heavy Chibi-Robo energy, and that's not something you see every day. It's low-key, but everything about it looks really polished. If you've been missing that kind of classic platforming feel, this one's definitely worth keeping on your radar. Into the Emberlands is one of those games that sneaks up on you with its vibe. It's a cozy exploration game mixed with roguelite elements where you wander out into a foggy wasteland carrying a lantern, trying to rescue lost villagers and bring them back home. But here's the catch. If your light goes out, your run's over. It's got this chill but tense loop where every step forward feels like a risk, and the visuals are colorful but kind of eerie too. You're building up a little village between runs, unlocking upgrades, and slowly expanding how far you can push into the unknown. It's not big on combat or action, but it really leans into that wander and wonder kind of gameplay. If you're into slower-paced, atmosphere-heavy games that still have a challenge, this one could be a nice surprise. Dead of Darkness is going full retro survival horror, and it doesn't even try to hide it. Fixed camera angles, pixelated visuals, creepy island setting, it's straight up a love letter to classic Resident Evil. You're exploring an abandoned hospital, managing limited resources, solving puzzles, and dealing with whatever weird stuff lurks in the dark. It's clunky in that deliberate, old-school way, but that's part of the appeal. The atmosphere is thick, and it looks like the kind of game that's not afraid to get a little weird with its story. It's probably not going to be for everyone, but if you've got a soft spot for that old PS1 horror vibe, this might hit the mark. Sometimes, simple and spooky is all you need. No Sleep for Kaname Date is another weird, stylish detective game from the team that thrives on weird and stylish detective games. If you've played the previous entries, you already know what to expect. Dream logic puzzles, surreal investigations, and a ton of dialogue that somehow manages to be both dramatic and completely unhinged. This one brings back Kaname Date as the lead, and it looks like it's doubling down on the dream diving mechanics with even more elaborate mindscapes to explore. It's not big on action, but that's never been the point. It's all about unraveling mysteries in bizarre ways, with a tone that constantly shifts between serious and totally absurd. These games are kind of a niche thing, but if they click with you, they really click. Wild Hearts S is kind of a relaunch, but not exactly. It's based on the original Wild Hearts, that Monster Hunter-style game from EA and Koei Tecmo, but this version is optimized for Switch 2 and seems to be making some big changes. The Karakuri system, where you build stuff mid-fight, is still here, but now it's more refined and integrated into traversal too. Visuals look cleaner, animations are smoother, and it sounds like they've tightened up the pacing overall. The original had cool ideas but never quite nailed the execution, so this feels like a second shot. It's not a totally new game, but if you skipped it the first time or just want a better version, this could be worth jumping into. Hopefully they get it right this time. Shadow Labyrinth is one of those smaller games that feels like it's doing something different, even if it's pretty simple on the surface. It's a 2D top-down action platformer where you're navigating dark, maze-like environments, fighting off creepy enemies, and solving light puzzles along the way. The visuals are minimal, almost retro, but they're used really effectively to build atmosphere. It kind of gives off early indie horror vibes, like something you'd find on itch.io, but way more polished. It's not flashy, and it's definitely not trying to compete with bigger titles, but that's what makes it stand out a bit. If you're into smaller, experimental games with a spooky tone, this might be one to check out. Islanders. New Shores is a minimalist city builder, and yeah, it's the kind of game that looks super simple but ends up being kind of addictive. You place buildings on small islands to score points, and the more efficient and beautiful your layout is, the more land you unlock. There's no money, no combat, no stress, just vibes and strategy. This version adds new biomes, more customization, and a photo mode that lets you just admire your little towns. It's the kind of game you start just to relax for a few minutes and then realize an hour has passed. If you like clean visuals and low-pressure gameplay with just enough depth to keep you thinking, this is one of those low-key gems. Missile Command Delta is a reimagining of the old Atari arcade game, but with a twist. It's part tower defense, part strategy, and part straight-up chaos. You're defending cities from waves of incoming missiles, but now there's a full campaign, power-ups, and even a weird little story layered on top. It's got a retro-inspired look, but everything moves fast and gets pretty intense once things ramp up. There's also local co-op, so 2 players can jump in and try to hold the line together. It's not some huge blockbuster release, but it knows exactly what it is: fast, simple, and kind of addictive. For fans of classic arcade action with modern touches, this could be a fun little time sink. Fool's Pub is a weird little multiplayer card game that feels like it came out of nowhere. You're sitting around a digital tavern table with up to 4 players, throwing down cards, triggering chaotic effects, and trying to outsmart everyone else in the room. It's got a medieval fantasy vibe, but doesn't take itself seriously at all. Think silly tavern banter, random surprises, and plenty of trash talk. The art is goofy in a good way, and the whole thing looks like it was built for fast, casual matches with friends. It's not trying to be the next big competitive card battler or anything, but as a party game, it could be a sleeper hit. Sometimes you just want something fun and dumb to mess around with, and this looks like exactly that. Ed and Edda Grand Prix. Racing Champions is a kart racer based on Europa Park's mascots, which sounds super niche, but it actually looks kind of decent. You've got colorful tracks based on different European countries, over-the-top items, and a full campaign mode with challenges and unlocks. It's clearly aiming at a younger audience, but there's split-screen multiplayer and time trials that could give it some legs. The controls seem pretty tight, and visually it's surprisingly clean for a smaller project. It's not exactly going to dethrone Mario Kart, but if you're looking for a family-friendly racer, or just want something new to drift around in for a bit, this could be worth a shot. It's one of those games you don't expect much from, but might end up playing more than you think. No Heroes. Here too is the kind of sequel that just wants to give you more of what worked the first time. Chaotic co-op, frantic castle defense, and a lot of yelling at your friends. You and your team are crafting weapons, loading cannons, and fending off waves of enemies while trying not to trip over each other. It's the kind of game where everything's on fire and someone's always shouting, "Just one more." It looks like they've added new stages, more enemy types, and a few tweaks to make things smoother, but the core is still that pure co-op madness. If you liked Overcooked or the first No Heroes here, you'll probably be right at home. It's not deep, but it's loud, silly, and fun, which is exactly what it needs to be. The Wandering Village is one of those games that just sticks in your head because of how strange and cool the concept is. You're building a village on the back of a giant creature. Yeah, like an actual moving animal that just keeps walking through a toxic world. It's a mix of city building and survival, but with this constant layer of unpredictability since the creature, Onbu, has its own behavior and mood. You're managing food, resources, and research, all while trying to stay in sync with this massive living platform you're living on. Visually, it's got a soft, painterly look that fits the vibe perfectly. The balance between caring for your people and respecting the creature you depend on makes it feel pretty unique. It's chill, but also tense in just the right ways, and that alone makes it worth keeping an eye on. That's all for now. Just a quick rundown of the most interesting games hitting the Switch this month. Let us know if anything caught your eye, or if there's a game we missed that you're excited about. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.